Thank you. I guess I'm leading things off. Pleasure to be here, and I'm going to make just a few remarks about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and the topic of financial literacy, financial education, financial capability. So thank you for having me here today. Engagement on consumer financial issues is important to this country. Let me just say that right at the beginning. Each one of us, whether from the public, private, or nonprofit sector, should have certain goals in common: a strong and vibrant financial system, the ability to earn and maintain the public's trust and confidence, fidelity to the highest standards of business ethics, excellent customer service, and a competitive economy that works for Americans in both the short term and the long term. During my years in state and local government, I became deeply engaged in consumer finance issues. I saw good people struggling with debts they could not afford. Sometimes they made bad decisions they came to regret. Sometimes an unexpected event, like a loved one getting sick or a family member losing a job, overwhelmed even their most careful planning. Still other times I saw unscrupulous businesses that obscured the terms of loans or engaged in outright fraud. Many people struggle to understand financial matters, which leads them into trouble or makes their problems worse. At the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, we are uniquely positioned to address these issues by helping to bridge the ever-widening gap between people's actual financial capability and the increasingly complex financial decisions they have to make. We're deeply committed to a vision of an America where everyone is financially educated, but the challenges that confront us in achieving that goal are complex, varied, and significant. To face them, we must start with where all good education starts, with our children. Education, as we think about it, builds on work already done by others, by previous generations, previous schools of thought, even previous civilizations. People learn various things. It may be a bit of information, or a personal experience, or a concept. These things get shared and recorded, and then they can be passed on to others as building blocks. These building blocks form a foundation of practical and theoretical knowledge that becomes more substantial over time. What would it be like if every generation had to learn mathematics from scratch? Even just the concept of numbers would be baffling enough. Or imagine if we knew nothing of biology or chemistry and had to learn them anew every 20 years or so. I raise this point because in our society, financial education typically seems to be an outlier. Rather than educating our young people, we condemn them to making the same mistakes others have made before them in the so-called school of hard knocks, which means it's no school at all. When we do not teach children about personal finance, about managing household budgets, or making informed decisions about larger investments in an education or home, we force them to learn it largely or perhaps entirely on their own, if at all. When Congress and the President created the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, they made sure to establish the Office of Financial Education to address these issues. Of course, the Bureau is still in its infancy, and so we'll be seeking input from practitioners and the public, including many of the experts here today, about how to improve financial education. What works and what does not work still seems to be a bit of an unknown at this point. We need to figure that out and strategize on how best to implement effective methods of financial education. What we do know is that Americans now have some of the highest personal debt levels in the history of our country. We know that too many Americans live beyond their means. We know that young Americans are less likely to be financially capable than older Americans. We know that 2 out of 3 households have no rainy day fund for unexpected setbacks. We also know that the people in this room are actively trying to tackle these issues in your communities, and we look forward to hearing from you. We envision a world where people understand budgets, savings, investments, and credit. We want to see integrated curricula in our schools, where the benefits of compound interest are understood in math class, where economic costs and risks are taught in social studies class, where an essay in English class explains how we can take control of our financial lives to achieve our goals. We all need to know why we have bank accounts, why we keep track of checking account balances, why we should check our credit reports regularly. I was at a Jumpstart dinner recently and was talking to Ted Beck at the event. And he said that he had older textbooks that used to integrate financial lessons into the curriculum in a much more standard way. I said I'd like to see those textbooks, and he sent me several. These are mathematics textbooks from the era of World War I. So this book was published in 1929. It's called Hamilton's Essentials of Arithmetic for Middle Grades. So I started going through it, and I started marking the pages where there were lessons that were described about arithmetic in terms of financial issues, buying and selling something, making money and how much you would save. There are units here on United States money, units here on making change, units here on keeping a cash account. The attitude expressed in this book is you're going to learn mathematics, but along the way you're going to learn a lot about how to manage your affairs, how to manage money, how to manage finances. I got through about page 60 in the interest of shortness of time and the brevity of life. I marked the pages between page 1 and page 60 where there were financial matters alluded to, and you can see that it's littered with it. That's what we used to teach. We need to do that again. Above all, people need to know that there are a few big moments in lives where they will confront specific decisions with potentially massive consequences, such as taking out a mortgage or a student loan. Do you go to school here or there? Do you buy this house or that one? How much debt do you take on? Do you understand the consequences? At what age do you start saving for retirement? These crucial decisions have huge ripple effects in your life, lasting for years. There are significant occasions like these where you can make a terrible decision in the moment by focusing on the wrong things or failing to gather enough information. At a minimum, people need to understand which decisions are the most important ones, not to treat them casually, and to get help when they need it. To provide consumers with more of the information they need to make sound financial decisions, we recently launched Ask CFPB as an interactive, user-friendly database of questions frequently asked by consumers. We enlisted experts at the Bureau to answer these questions in plain language. Not always easy for experts to do. We want consumers to have a trusted place to go for clear, unbiased information. Many questions so far are focused on credit cards and mortgages, and we have specific sections for service members, students, and older Americans. Come and tell us what else we should be covering at www.consumerfinance.gov. Our political order is consciously organized around a free market economy based on individual decision-making and personal responsibility. In this society, being an effective citizen is about much more than knowing how to vote or that the government has 3 branches. It is also about being able to acquire the know-how and the capacity to manage your affairs and make the most of your opportunities. There are 2 ways to close the gap between the actual financial capability of consumers and the increasingly complex set of financial decisions they must be able to make. One way is to better inform consumers and better educate consumers. Another way is to bring more transparency and accountability to the financial markets. If we can bring financial decisions down to the level where they're more accessible by making choices clearer and simpler, then we close the gap. You should not need a law degree to read a bank or credit card account or contract. We're advocating for greater transparency in the financial markets, not to dumb things down, but to take overly complicated products and make them reasonably accessible to normal human beings. At the Consumer Bureau, we're doing this with our signature Know Before You Owe Mortgages project to simplify and streamline the application forms and closing documents for mortgages. We're also showing how this can be done with our sample credit card agreement. On student loans, we first produced a sample financial aid shopping sheet for students and then followed up with our Financial Aid Comparison Shopper, an online tool that can be used to estimate the costs of higher education by measuring schools side by side. By the way, we have had a terrific working relationship with the Department of Education and the Secretary on that, and we greatly appreciate that. Each of these tools provides greater transparency, assists with comparison shopping, and eases decision-making for consumers. We also understand sometimes people need special help, so we've established a complaint system on our website and through a hotline. Consumers can send us complaints about your mortgage, credit card, bank account, and the like. Our consumer response specialists will follow up on these concerns and seek to get them resolved. Again, that's consumerfinance.gov. Our goal is to give people the confidence and peace of mind that the financial world is not booby-trapped with pitfalls that will ruin their lives. We want information to be more accessible to people, and through this enhance consumers' abilities to make wise financial decisions for themselves and their families. By bringing these results closer together, we will bolster financial capability in this country. By working with all of you, we're glad to share these convictions and to join you in this worthy cause. Thank you very much.